All right, so we will be going live here in probably less than a minute. So I'll hit the little start webinar, and then we get to find out what's going on here. So then we could go. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get this thing kicked off. Well, hello. I am very excited tonight. Caring Transitions, we provide a free service called lifescopilot.com, which is a resource for people that seniors, their family members, their caregivers to be able to get really good, solid information from experts in the senior care business about senior care services and programs and resources that are available. Today, we have Cheryl Curry with Stillwater's Adult Daycare, and she is going to be talking to us about Adult Day. I think that's something that maybe is starting to get better known, but I think a lot of people aren't really that familiar with that particular service. So, Cheryl, if you'd like to kind of introduce yourself and Diane and kind of tell us who you guys are and what you're all about.
Oh, sure. Well, thanks. And thanks for having us. So adult day centers they're sort of a secret, right? But they are a great place for someone who has a senior. Maybe they have dementia, maybe they have MS, maybe they have Parkinson's, but it's somewhere for someone like me, maybe that I'm taking care of my parents. It's a good place for me to take my parents so that I can still continue to work. Or maybe it is a spouse and they need some respite as well. So they bring their guests to a day center and we take care of them for them. Most day centers are open Monday through Friday. Stillwater's, we're open Monday through Friday. We start at 7 a.m. in the morning and we care for our guests until 6 o'clock at night. So, it's a great way to keep your loved one at home, but still have time to do the things that you need to do.
Well, so much of what you guys are about and what so much is in need that people don't really realize how much is caring for the caregiver.
That's right. And caregivers need to take care of themselves because if they don't take care of themselves, how can they take care of that loved one that they're trying to take care of?
Yeah, I had
So
I had
bringing them to a center like us, they can go get their grocery shopping done and not have to worry about if their husband or whatever has dementia running off from them and losing them. Or other things that it just makes it hard for them, or they just need some time to themselves. They need to take a nap, or they need to clean their house, whatever the circumstance may be for them.
I had a pastor friend of mine that used to always say, "You can't load a wagon from an empty wagon." So, in other words, if you're empty, you can't load the next one. So it's
I
you've
love
got to
that.
fill the wagon up. So,
Sure.
um, when it comes to that, going back on the caregiver portion of this, okay, because I mean, we're going to talk more about what you do for the care for the client, but the caregiver is a big reason why adult day is there rather than maybe at assisted living or what have you, because they are helping that loved one age at home.
That's right.
Okay.
They certainly are. And that is a huge responsibility for that person. It takes a lot out of you. Um, so it's always funny when I like do an intake for someone. They come and they talk to me about coming here, and you can just hear the stress in their voice, and you can just tell they're physically exhausted, you know, and then they'll bring their loved one to us, and within a few days, all of a sudden they're starting to sound better. They look better. I talked to a lady not long ago and she just sat there and cried. She says, "You have no idea what this place has done for me." And I'm like, well, I do because I am also a caregiver besides working at Stillwater's. So I know what that's like to have to take care of somebody. Diana took care of her dad. She is our executive director. She took care of her dad for a long time. And, it was rough, but she did it because that's what she wanted for her dad.
Right. And one of the things that I don't think a lot of people realize is the 24-hour, 365, 7 day a
Mhm.
week stress.
Mhm.
I've seen when I was taking a dementia friends class, and they say that statistically, 66% of the time, the caregiver dies before the care receiver because that caregiver can never get a break.
Well, yeah, and especially if you've got somebody that you're trying to take care of with dementia, when sundowners comes, that's when they start acting kind of off in the evenings, or they're up all night long and they're roaming around, and they fall. That's stress. And
Mhm.
that's a lot of stress for that caregiver.
So now, do you guys do respite stays as well, or is it, always a weekly meal, or how does that work?
So, we only are open during the week, during
Right.
the day. Okay. So, we don't have people to stay all night, but there are people, they can bring their loved ones to us after they do a bunch of paperwork, of course, and health assessments, right? If they just want to bring them for a short time, that's fine. We're happy to take them.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, do
Mhm.
you want to get a chance to go ahead and go through your slides, or do you
Yeah,
want to?
that would be great. And we'll just
Okay.
talk about dementia a little bit too, if that's all right,
That's fine
as
with
we're
me. I
going
just
through
thought I
that.
was trying to see where we go here. So let's do.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So let me get my slides up here. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
so we're going to talk about promoting emotional resilience and social well-being for our senior adults. So we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So, 1 in 5 seniors, they experience mental health issues not associated with aging. So it is so important that our seniors are being connected and they're staying socially engaged. If you have a neighbor, possibly that, maybe they're widowed or whatever, and they're living by themselves, it is so important for us to check on them, because isolation is the biggest factor contributing to worsening senior mental health. So, we say at Stillwater's, for example, we don't let people sit in a chair and go to sleep. We keep them moving and we keep them active. And it's proven that keeping them moving and keep them active, it slows down the progression. Okay. But if someone is just sitting by themselves all day watching television, that's not a good thing. Okay. So we can go to the next slide.
Well, I was going to say, if you don't mind, I'll interject here. I think I told you before, I just lost my uncle who's 95,
Yes.
but 7 years ago, we ended up moving him to an assisted living, and the assisted living saved his life because um, he was living by his apartment by himself. He'd been there for 27 years. I kept trying to get him to move. He wouldn't do it, and then he had a stroke, and I said, "You cannot live upstairs anymore." Okay, that those stairs. I was worried about him anyway because I was in the building business, and they were not built to code, so I was always worried about him coming down those, falling. So we ended
Hmm.
up moving into an apartment literally at the bottom of the stairs, so it was just like downstairs. So in my mind, we didn't move him. He got new carpet, new cabinets, and new appliances, and faced east instead of west. Other than that, I didn't see a big deal, right? He parked in the same spot, had the same mail thing, had all the same neighbors. To me, it wasn't a move. But that move was so traumatic on him. He didn't say anything to us about it, but he was isolated because he was living there. Everybody else in that apartment went to work. He was there. And he went into such a depression that he tried to commit suicide. He ended up doing 2 stints in the senior psych ward at St. Vincent's. If you were not depressed before going in there, that's a pretty
Hmm.
tough place. I mean, good people work there, but it's a rough place. But the psychiatrist in the second time goes, if he's in a place where there's more structure and there's more social, he goes, I think he'll be fine. Well, this time we moved him in, and we had the apartment all, just like one of those reveal shows. And he came in. He ended up being the president of the garden club. He was the president of the resident council. He was one of the ambassadors that greeted other people in, helped him make that transition. He made this flower arrangements for every church service. He was, he truly came alive, because of he had that extra interaction.
Hmm.
When someone's trying to take care of mom and dad and keep them at home, but then still trying to do everything else, they're not getting that interaction, which is what you can bring to the table.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like your uncle did a 180. One
He
thing that
did.
I Yeah, one of the things I really appreciate here, and I always tell everybody this, my great aunt used to say, twice a child and once an adult, right? We are in our second childhood, these folks that are coming here. And it's so neat because they make friends so easily and they get their buddies. But different from the children, they're so welcoming to everyone that walks in, and they all become friends and they all become family. And when someone gets sick, or they leave for whatever reason, maybe they're on vacation, the other guests get really worried about them. I mean, they're just really tight knit like that.
Yeah,
And I was
I
gonna
wanted to throw that in because literally, I just was speaking at the funeral yesterday, and I was talking about how that neighborhood, that community, literally saved his life.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I was going to add in also, Jim, when we think of isolation, we think of, engaging our seniors. What we forget to, it just dawned on me because we had a guest who just showed up, who came in yesterday for a tour, and her mom is higher cognizant, but yet she has dementia. So she tried to send her mom to a normal senior center, and she's like, she didn't engage. She didn't really participate. Well, when we have early onset dementia, we know we have it and we're afraid to engage. So the unique thing about day centers, we accept everyone where they are. So when they come to a day center, they'll meet other individuals that have similar dementia, similar, concerns and issues that they do. So they're not afraid to have a conversation. They're not afraid to fail and say something they shouldn't say. So once again, it's easy for us to say to our mom and dad, especially focus on the dementia side, mom, dad, get out there, do such and such. They're intimidated because they know enough to know they don't know what they used to know. So
Right.
that is a unique thing about day sitters, that we are a welcoming space, like Cheryl said, that we allow anyone to come in and we won't let anyone fail at our center.
Well, you're trained in how to help them with that process.
Correct. Yeah, but in the isolation thing too, like Cheryl was mentioning, if you have a neighbor, go visit them, go check in on them. Simple things. Call Meals on Wheels, have them come over. Just any one-on-one visit really does make that difference for a senior.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, so what is emotional resilience and social well-being, and why are they important? So emotional resilience describes someone's ability to adapt to a crisis. So, a crisis could be if they lost their keys. Maybe that is a crisis to some people, right? Other people, it's like, I'll find my keys. Social well-being, on the other hand, refers to a sense of belonging to a community. So people come here and they belong, and they know they belong here because they make friends, they fit in, and like Diana said, we meet them where they are. So both of these things, they're important parts of our overall mental health. So you have to cultivate these things to improve the feelings of commitment. It reduces the stress, and that can ultimately lengthen your life because you're not going to be depressed, right? If you're sitting there all day by yourself, it gets very lonely. We are social creatures. Humans need to be around other humans. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Next slide, please. Okay, so let's understand some things. So these things might be things that your loved one is struggling with. And and they say too, you have dementia about 10 years before you're actually diagnosed, or someone says, man, something's just off with that person. So look at voluntary social isolation. So maybe that could be an example of, well, they went to church every Sunday, and now all of a sudden they're not going anymore. They're just staying at home. Major changes in behavior, little things just bother them that didn't used to bother them. You say something and they're like, don't argue with me. And they never acted like that before. Memory issues. And I love this one because, we all have what we call them senior moments, right? But when someone is continuously losing something, if I misplace my keys today, does that mean I have dementia? No, because I'm going to tell you, there's times I've lost my keys. What did I do with them? But when it's something that they're forgetting, we might have an issue. If they've started abusing alcohol or other naughty things, right? That could be something. And if you know someone, they're just not eating like they used to, or maybe they love sweets and all of a sudden they're not eating sweets anymore. Maybe it is for a healthy reason, but maybe there is a problem. They're just not motivated to do the things they like to do anymore. Maybe they love playing cards. Well, maybe they don't understand the cards anymore. So there could be a reason why they're not playing those. And then if they're sleeping a lot, That's not good either. So, you know, that's like I said before, here at Stillwaters, we say still waters where the waters are never still, because we don't let people sit in their chair and go to sleep. I talk to so many caregivers, and they will say before they came to Stillwaters, that's what their loved one did. They sat and they slept most of the day away. Well, then that causes problems at night, because then they're up wondering. Okay. So how can family members and caregivers help seniors foster emotional resilience? So practicing mindful exercises, meditation, journaling, if they could write down their feelings in a book, how they're feeling that day, yoga, if they're able to move, but, you know, just simple chair exercises. And we do that at 9 o'clock here every day. We do chair exercises, just lifting the arms or marching in place with our feet. And then positive affirmations. You did a great job with that. Keep up the good work. Encouraging resilient behavior. So keep your mind open about it. Use healthy coping skills. Stay active. Again, don't just sit in the chair. We get up every hour here, and you know, we might move to the other side of the room, or we might move to a room, but we're moving, and that's important. The longer you sit, the stiffer you get. So we're going to keep those muscles going. And make sure that there's honest communication and a positive attitude towards change. Change is hard for some people, but you know, if we keep positive about it, and this is why we're doing, let's just try it. Let's just try it.
And you keep saying the you know, the staying active and whatnot. Sorry, I've talked to two people just recently, and that I just wanted to bring this up again too. A lot of time our seniors, you know, they stay in front of the TV, watch TV all day. They might watch Fox News, and we think, okay, well, you know, they're at least listening, they're gaining, you know, listening skills, they're learning, they're seeing. But just recently, two families we've talked to, they brought up the comment that their loved one is having issues with communication. And if you really think about it, if you're watching TV, letting our loved ones watch TV all day, it's not a two-way conversation. They're forgetting words, they're forgetting conversation, they're forgetting how to communicate to someone else because they're only intaking information. So it's really important that however we do practicing mindfulness, encouraging resilient behaviors, it's a two-way streak. We engage our seniors, we engage them in the conversation through it. So they do continue to communicate their needs with us.
Very good.
So what are ways to encourage social well-being in senior citizens? So again, we've talked about loneliness, we've talked about isolations, and these have been connected. So as we get older, it's hard to maintain the same people, right? I mean, we lose friends, we lose family members. We sometimes, many people, especially when they get dementia, or they can't drive anymore. And that's really hard when someone's keys are taken away. And it makes them isolated, because now what are they going to do? How are they going to get from place to place? So again, you know, we're saying reach out to your seniors, make sure that they're being active and going places. So, you know, there's just certain things that caregivers of seniors can do to encourage social and mental well-being. Reading, building those personal relationships, make new friends, encourage people to get out and join different things. I mean, my goodness, there's all kinds of clubs and things that they could join. You were talking about your uncle. Look what it did for him, right? He was becoming the president of this and the president of that. And there's still social events that older people can enjoy. So reaching out for those, and we know, especially on Facebook, there's events everywhere. So look for those places and take your loved ones if it's possible. Next slide, please. Okay, so things to watch out for of symptoms of Alzheimer's and dementia. So we know that when you lose your memory, it's going to disrupt your lifestyle. I mean, how can it not, right? So we have a declining in a memory. We can't reason sometimes. We can't think about things. So here are some warning signs to watch out for your loved ones. So again, that memory loss that disrupts daily life. You know, maybe they can no longer put their own socks on. They have forgotten how to do that. Challenges in planning or solving problems. A thing I told somebody one day, well, the sink's overflowing. What are you going to do? Well, someone with dementia might not realize you have to turn off the water. So watch for things, just little things. Difficulty completing familiar tasks. Maybe all of a sudden they don't know how to turn the TV off. They used to, but now they don't know which button it is, or they have forgotten how to operate the microwave. Maybe they don't know where they're at or what time it is. I know my mother called me one night and she says, "Don't freak out." She goes, "What time is it? What day is this?" And it's like, "Mom, are you okay?" But she woke up and she'd been asleep and she just didn't wake up in her right mind. Trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. Problems with words and speaking or writing. And that's another one. Like Diana was saying earlier, you have to engage, you have to be able to speak too. So if you're just sitting listening, you're isolated and don't have anybody to speak to, there you go. Decreased or poor judgment. So people will all of a sudden not be able to use their checkbook anymore, or they're just writing checks to anybody. You hear about all these senior scams and things that happen. That's something to watch out for. Misplacing things and not knowing where I was earlier. Well, I came in and I put my keys down, but which door did I come in? They may not remember that. Withdrawal from work or social activities. Again, they're not going to church anymore. They've just stopped. Or those changes in mood, maybe they become they become angry very easily at things, because that anger is coming from frustration, because they realize they know something's wrong, but they don't know what's wrong, right? Or their personality, maybe they giggle at everything when they shouldn't, when something's not funny, or again, just getting mad at silly things. Okay, you want to add
Oh,
something?
no, I wanted to add in there real quick, because it was one of the conferences we attended, and I always think this is very important information for all caregivers. A lot of times, the first sign of someone having dementia is how they sign their signature, and a lot of
Really?
people see it on checks, because a lot of our seniors still write checks, and a lot of families say that now looking back, I noticed that my family member, my mom, my dad, started writing their signature cricket or an opposite, a different direction. And they actually, I think it was the Alzheimer's Foundation of America. I can't remember where I heard it from, but they said that they're actually starting to train bank tellers, because the bank tellers are the first line to see individuals who have early onset dementia, because people are coming in, withdrawing additional funds that they usually wouldn't withdraw, going in, sporadically, more often taking out funds, writing their name a different signature than they typically would write it. So they're training bank tellers to help diagnose the early onset dementia, which I thought was very intriguing.
Yes. Or maybe it's not maybe they're not writing crooked, but maybe they wrote larger and now it's so small that you can hardly even read the signature. So that's a big one.
Parkinson's Parkinson's will cause the handwriting, and then also real small writing as well. So that's another. It's a different disease, but it has a similar capacity.
So let's look at
Yeah, my
let's go
mom's
ahead and look at
Parkinson's.
some
That's why I'm familiar with that pretty well. So,
yeah. So what's the difference between Alzheimer's and typical age-related changes? So, okay, so let's look at the signs of Alzheimer's and dementia. So poor judgment, decision-making. But just because I make a bad decision once in a while, does that mean I have dementia? No. I mean, we all make poor decisions, right? But it's like, gosh, doggone it, I wish I hadn't done that. But we did it, so we move on. But people with Alzheimer's and dementia, they're going to be making a lot of bad decisions most of the time. The inability to manage a budget. Okay. Now, I'm sure everyone at some time they forgot to make a payment of something. Maybe they forgot their phone bill. Oh my gosh, got to run to AT&T now. Now I got to pay it over there because my check's not going to make it in time. Losing track of the date or the season. So we all can forget which day it is and remembering it later. I mean, if we're on vacation, I don't remember what day of the week is because I'm truly relaxing, right? But for people that are isolated, they truly don't know. Okay. People that are having difficulty having a conversation. Again, you think they're taking it in, but they can't get the words out. And sometimes forgetting which word to use. We all sit there sometimes think, oh my gosh, what is that word? You know what I'm talking about, but what's that word? And somebody helps us, then you laugh. You're like, yes, that's exactly what I was trying to say. But people who have dementia, They are truly, their words get scrambled in their minds and they just can't get it out. They can't even say it. They can't even let alone think about it. Misplacing things and being unable to retrace steps to find them. And again, I just go back to that set of keys. You know, we all do that sometimes. We lose things from time to time, but that doesn't mean we have dementia. And you can't think, oh my God, I got dementia because I can't find my keys. All right, it's okay. You don't have dementia. Okay. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so a daily plan helping people live with Alzheimer's or that dementia. So it is a good thing for people who have dementia or Alzheimer's to have an organized day. They need consistency through their day. They need a schedule of things. So like here at Stillwater's, we say for our guests, we ask them to come a minimum of 2 days a week because they're on a schedule. Every hour, again, we're doing something. Are we doing the same thing? No, but they know that we're going to get up and we're going to move. They know we're going to have an activity. They know we're going to have lunch at this time. They know we rest between this time and this time. Okay. So when thinking about, though, when you're organizing a day for someone, people with dementia, they do get very tired. Okay. So like here at Stillwater's, we have that rest period after lunch between 1 and 2. If someone needs to go to sleep, it's okay. We're not going to say you cannot go to sleep, but people need to rest. They need to let their food settle. They need to kind of clear their minds. They've been busy and they just need time to rest. I mean, I get tired when I do busy things. So why wouldn't someone with dementia? So think about what activities that person likes. Think about the activities that are going to enhance them, that are going to make them happy. Sometimes doing something that's spontaneous, and think about it. If it created anxiety for them, maybe that's something that we shouldn't do anymore. It's something they used to enjoy, but now it's hard for them. Okay.
And the biggest thing with what she's saying too, I always think of this, is consistency. You know, I hear this a lot, especially with our guests here. They, for instance, they want to go on vacation and they end up, they have their family member, their mom or dad, go stay with a brother or sister. That's something totally different from them. It's not their normal home. That's not their normal bedroom. That's not their normal restroom. So it throws their entire week or 2 weeks off that they're on respite. So trying to figure out ways to create that consistency where we're not constantly making changes for our loved ones. And like she was saying, you know, at day centers, we ask them to come 2 days a week at least, because it's consistency. It's doing the same thing over and over again versus throwing new things onto them on a daily basis. So even if you do a day center 2 days a week, maybe on on Wednesdays, we always go to the library, but always thinking of how to make it norm and how to make it consistent continuously for our loved ones, especially the individuals with dementia.
Yeah, I hear, in caring transitions, I'm working with a lot of families that are downsizing and all that process. And I'm constantly hearing about family members that are trying to share the load, which is a noble thing, but they're shipping mom or dad off to Phoenix for this month, and then they're going to go to North Dakota for the next month to different siblings. I can't even imagine what that person's going through trying to, handle those constant upheavals in their lives.
It's so
Yeah.
hard.
Well, and you think about it, even dinner time, you know, how I'm going to cook if my loved one stays with me and then I send them to my sister's house, Diana's house, and she eats totally different than we eat. That can even upset a person with dementia. So, you've really got to plan those things out for that. Again, that big word is consistency.
Yeah. With my father, I was a caregiver for 7 years for my father. He had vascular dementia with Lewy body, secondary Parkinson's. And I'm married. At that time I had a child in junior high and high school, and I needed time for them also. So how do I fill my cup, but yet not upset my father and still have consistency? So initially when he was first diagnosed, he would be able to go down to my girlfriend's house and stay with her when I went on vacation. Then I realized as the dementia progressed that it was not, it was a change for him that he couldn't adapt to. He didn't know where the restroom was when he got up in the middle of the night to use the restroom. So he wouldn't use the restroom in an appropriate place. So I had to figure out okay, I still need to take respite for myself, but how can I help my dad at the same time? So I had the caregiver come to my house at that point, and she would care for him at my house because he was familiar with the house. So it's, once again, you can do things, you can take care of yourself, because like at the very beginning, Cheryl emphasized, you have got to take care of yourself as a caregiver, but you've just got to figure out how to take care of yourself and take care of your loved one without disrupting the apple basket. I mean, how can we make it both work in both worlds?
Yeah, very good.
So tips for communicating with a person with dementia. Again, you've got to stay positive and set that mood for interaction. It's so important. Again, if you've got that neighbor, check on them, call them, get the person's attention. State your message clearly, because how we might say something, they may not understand that anymore. Ask simple, answerable questions. Don't ask for a bunch of details, but do you like your butter on your bread? Listen with your ears, eyes, and keep your heart open. Okay. You have to remember these folks, they're struggling. So we need to have our heart open and come to their level and be understanding. When the going gets tough, distract and redirect. I know we do a lot of redirecting here when people, they're maybe go to the door or something where it's like, come on, let's go this way. They want you over there. Let's go see what they're doing. They're calling you. Respond with affection, and again, reassure them that it's okay. We're just going to go this way. Talk about the good old days, because for most people with dementia, that's where their minds are. I know we built a new mobility park here at the center, and we have a bus stop in there with old newspapers, and the newspapers are from back in the 50s and the 60s and 70s. And so many of our folks, that's where their minds are. So they read that and they're like reliving the moment, because that's where they're at. And then maintain your sense of humor about it. I mean, I think, sometimes things happen and we have to chuckle about it, because if we don't, we're going to go crazy ourselves. Okay. So next slide. So here at Stillwaters, I'll tell you, we laugh a lot. Again, we have a lot of friendships. We try to be engaging and we support. I know I wasn't here then, Diana was here, but the picture with the couple that was dancing, is that correct? You want to tell that story?
Yeah. Is, once again, our goal is to, a day center, the goal of a day center is to help people stay at home, remain in their home as long as possible. And I will strongly, my dad went to a day center for 5 years until COVID hit, and day centers, they do support the caregiver. They really, really do. But there are times when a caregiver's, I mean, especially if they're a spouse, and especially a female or even a male, there are times when you've got to say, I can't do this anymore at the home. And it's not being a failure. It's not saying I can't do it anymore. You just cannot do it anymore. So at times you need to go to assisted living, skilled nursing, and, agree to say, this is what I need to be able to keep my cup full. So we had a family, a couple that attended here a couple years ago. And, the husband and wife, they've been married for over 50 some years, and the husband had dementia, and the wife was just at her wit's end. She's like, I can't keep him at home anymore, because he had FTD, frontotemporal disorder, dementia, where he became violent and hostile at times. So she had made her decision to put him into a skilled nursing facility due to his behavior. And it was really tough for her, because, I mean, sometimes as a caregiver, we feel we're failing to say, I can't do this anymore, which you're not. It's basically saying, I have got to keep my cup full too. So she made the decision that, I've got to put him in skilled nursing. Really hadn't been verbal over the last 6 months to her, besides the violent tendencies he would have. And so it was actually Valentine's Day a couple years ago, and we had a musician come in and play some music, and the caregiver, was sitting there with her loved one, and that same day, she was actually going to take her loved one from Stillwaters directly to a skilled nursing without him knowing about it. And while they were sitting there listening to the music, he looked at her and he said, "Do you want to dance?" And they got up and they danced, and I say it was their last dance, and it broke my heart, but yet it reassured, once again, the love that we have for one another is so deep, and love speaks in so many different ways. And that to me was showing him saying that reassured her that it's okay. this is the right decision.
Mhm.
I'm okay with it. Even though he didn't know, it just made her feel so much better. So, once again, it's, I love day centers for that. I love that we not the support side. I think we embrace the families too. We do monthly discussion topics with different things. We talk about skilled nursing. We talk about hospice. We talk about palliative. On a monthly basis, we open it up to the community. But I know Cheryl does a phenomenal job with the families in general. We're a support system for them. When their loved one goes into the hospital or rehab, Cheryl reaches out to the family member. When she notices a decline in a guest, she'll reach out to the family member. And that's what it's about. It's about not only about the guests, but it's the family member too. And one other thing I want to add, which I'll never forget this conversation I had with one of the caregivers once. He said, I started Stillwaters because I needed Stillwaters for me. I needed that respite time for me. He's like, but I never thought about it. But looking back now, my wife needed it just as much as I needed it. She needed Stillwaters for the social engagement, physical, the cognitive. She needed it just as much as I needed it. And so I think as a caregiver, we need to understand that it's not just about you as a caregiver. Your loved one really needs that social engagement because it's very, very difficult at home when you're one-on-one to give that social engagement. So that is, whether or not it's a day center, whether it's not, it's finding a euchre club every Friday. I know I live on the east side. 10th Street Pub does euchre I think it's every Monday or Tuesday night. There's like 80 individuals who meet up there. So it's just trying to figure out, if you're going to be a caregiver, how can I get my dad, mom, my spouse engaged with other individuals their age?
I think sometimes too, it's kind of like when you're a parent and you're sending your child off to kindergarten for the first time. It's your oldest kid. Oh my gosh, I can't do this. And I stand and I cry at the door, and many adults, when they're bringing their spouse, that it's hard for them, and they're so worried because they're entrusting the staff at a day center or wherever they're taking them to take care of them. And I assure you that they're being loved on and they're being treated wonderfully and they have a good time while they're there.
Very good.
Slide. So Stillwaters, talk about us a little bit. We are senior exclusive. So we're very different because we only serve adults that are 55 years of age and older. However, there are many day centers where they serve 18 and older. Just here, we just focus on the senior. Again, we're open Monday through Friday. We open up at 7. Our guests leave by 6 o'clock. And I find these statistics very interesting. So 50,807 hours of care provided to 75 families in a year. 96% of Stillwater's caregivers agreed that Stillwater services help make it possible to keep their loved one at home. 1,696 hours donated by 57 volunteers. We have all kinds of volunteers and partners that come in to help us give entertainment to our guests. We have a motion therapist. We have a music therapist. We have dog therapy. The kids from the preschool come and visit. We have people from other churches that come and do crafts. We have a flutist. We have IU students. We have Butler students. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. 29% of center fees came from third-party payers, benefiting guests with the greatest financial needs. 41% participants who stay in the program 1 year or longer, saving families and taxpayers an average of $35,000 a year. Next slide, please.
What was that last one again? You cut out for a minute, so let's do that again. 41%.
Sorry. 41% participants who stay in the program for at least a year or longer. That saves families and taxpayers an average of $35,000 a year.
In care and
Mm-hmm. So a place where magic happens. This is the couple that Diana was talking about, where she was taking him to a center, or I'm sorry, to a nursing facility when they left here that day. Very touching. Yeah. All right, next slide, please. And I guess that's it on our slides. I can tell you personally, Stillwaters has been around since 2011. There was a member of the church that her dad, I think he lived in Michigan, and she realized that there was a need for day centers in Indianapolis. So she started this. Most of our staff that started Stillwaters in 2011, they are still here.
That's amazing.
It is
Turnover in the
amazing.
senior industry is pretty high, so that's really amazing.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place to be here. And I say with all honesty, it is a true family here. It truly is.
So
We
where
care
are
about
you?
each other deeply. So we're located at 71st and Shadeland. We're at actually Shadeland Station. So we are a ministry of the Castleton United Methodist Church, but we're not in the church. There is a building behind the church on Station Way that we are in.
So how
Yeah.
many people can you serve at a time?
Yeah, so we serve about 25 people at a time, 25 to 27. We have probably over double that, though, that are registered to come. Because a lot of people, they just come 2 days a week. Some people come 3 days a week. Some people come every day. So we keep a tight schedule. We have a full-time RN on staff. We have a LPN. We have several CNAs. We have a medical assistant. We have 2 program staff or floor staff. We have a kitchen manager, Diana, executive director, myself. I'm director of admissions and marketing. And then we also have an administrative assistant, or I call her the director of first impressions. So yeah, we've got a wonderful staff here.
So is there a wait list to get in, or?
So it just depends on the time of year. So we had a wait list for a long time. We were full. And then unfortunately we had a few guests that passed away. It seems like Christmas time, people hold on until Christmas and then they pass after Christmas. And that happened, but we've got people coming in. So that's wonderful. Now, so I don't know if people know this too, but there's actually 3 different levels of care for day centers. So there's like the social level, they call that level 1. Okay. So here at Stillwaters, we are level 2, which means we can administer medications and that sort of thing. There's also
And we have a nurse on site.
I already told them that. Yeah. And then on level 3, so we do not do level 3 because that's even more extensive care. So those might be people, they need feeding tubes, or they have,
Colonoscopy bags.
thank you, colostomy, say it for me.
Colonoscopy bags.
Colonoscopy bags, but they need a bigger medical help than what we can provide here. So the good thing about this is because centers work together, I know I have referred people on. There's people that work at level 1 and they refer them to us when that person can no longer go there because they do not have the capability. They don't dispense medicine. They can remind someone to take their medicine, but they can't actually give it to them. So, we work as a community to help each other because, at the end of the day, who's important? It's that guest that's important.
Right. So what's it like when someone is considering coming there? I would imagine that you were talking about the guilt, oh my God, I'm failing if I'm not taking care of mom or dad or my spouse or whatever, all on my own, which is something I know people have to get over, but that because they are not necessarily the best care because they're wearing themselves out. And plus the fact, if they can bring in other care, they can then be that daughter or that husband or the son again and not just
That's right.
a caregiver.
Yeah. I have talked to people before and it's very difficult for them to let go. Okay. Because they take that responsibility so seriously as they should. But, I've told people, like, for example, there's been people here that are taking care of their parent. Right. And I've had to say to them, it's because they can't make a decision. And I say, at some point, you become the parent. You have to make that decision for your loved one, whether you choose to come to Stillwaters or you choose to go to another facility, another day center, whatever. You're the parent. You make that decision for them, and then they bring them and they see it's okay, right? And I'll talk to him a couple weeks later. I know I was talking to this one lady and I said, you sound so much better. And she said, Cheryl, you have no idea. I didn't realize how bad I felt. And I said, yes, because you've got to take care of yourself. And I said, know that your husband is in loving care here. And she says, oh, I know he is. And I appreciate that. It's amazing. It's amazing to see their
airplane when they
turn.
tell you to put the mask on your face first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you pass out, you can't help anybody.
You got that right. You got that right.
Yeah.
And most day centers, I don't know if you guys have covered this also, but most day centers allow you to do a tour and view it and hang out for a couple hours to see, so you can actually see it. I highly recommend if you're looking at day centers, hop in there, go in, do a tour of the day center. All day centers will give you a tour. Hey, can my, mom or dad hang out with you guys for a couple hours to see how they appreciate it, how they like it. Let them, get them in there. And if you don't feel comfortable initially, go in by yourself, go in and view the day center, talk to the day center, and then bring your loved one back in for a couple hours. But both Cheryl and I worked for a youth development agency for 20 some years. And I oversaw the summer camp program. And I look at a day center like summer camp. I will never forget one of the biggest things I told families, when you send your child to camp, don't set up a plan for failure. Don't say, call me if you don't want to stay. Call me if you get homesick. Call me if you have any issues. Because it's setting the kid up to say, okay, I'll give it a try, but I'm not really going to give it a try. I'm going to be able to call my mom immediately and she's going to come get me. Same thing with day centers. Don't set the loved one up for failure to say, you know what, just give it a try. And, if you don't like it, I'll come get you. Or, at least with our center, we ask that they give 1 month, that they actually give it 1 month before they make a decision to pull them out. Because, the first 2 weeks is hard for a loved one to be here. It's something so different.
And it's an adjustment period. It's adjustment period for not only the guest, but the caregiver.
You're exactly right.
Right.
So it's making sure that, and then they, they're intimidated initially. They're afraid to make friends. They're afraid to talk to people. So over that time of that month, they actually get to engage with other people their age. They get to talk. They start building friendships. And honestly, I've been here 3 years. Cheryl's been here a year and a half. Both of us, since we've been here, I've never had a guest come in and then say, I don't like it and I don't want to do it anymore. It is giving them the opportunity to be here and experience it before you say, I don't want to do it anymore.
And sometimes, a person with especially dementia, sometimes it's hard to get them out of the car, but that's part of the disease. It's not because of what's going on within. It's what's going on in up here. Mm-hmm.
There, obviously Stillwater, there's all kinds of different, adult days. Is that the way to pronounce it? Because I heard different people like to call it different things. But anyway, what should someone look for trying to find a fit? Because I would imagine no one is a fit for everyone.
Oh, I'm not glad you asked that, but so first of all, set up a tour. Okay. So I know like when I do tours, I bring them in and I talk about like who we are, what we have to offer. You need to find out, well, what are my payment options? Okay. That's huge.
Yeah.
Do you accept Medicaid? Do you accept VA? Do you accept long-term health insurance? If I pay cash, how much am I going to have to pay? Right. Ask about what kind of meals do you serve? Do you serve a snack? Are you going to help my loved one go to the bathroom? If they need to take a shower here, well, how are they going to do that? Does someone help them? What other services do you offer? Do you take field trips? You're going to ask those same questions again. If you were taking your kindergartner, what am I going to have to pay? How much is their lunch? Do I have to pay a milk fee? What's my book rental? Every question that you think of, that you can think about what's going to go on during that day.
And I also think, with day centers too, for instance, we're 55 and older community. We will not take anyone less than 55. We focus solely on seniors. That is our number one, that's our number one goal. A lot of day centers have all ages. So when a child phases out of high school, they can go to a day center. So a lot of, day centers have all ages. So if you have a loved one who you're just looking for a day center in general, and your son or daughter might be 28 years old.
Yeah.
Looking at day centers that accommodate their age. The other thing with day centers, which I didn't know, like I said, my dad went to a day center also, and I didn't know this at the time, but there's nonprofit and for-profit day centers. So, if you're familiar with nonprofits, nonprofits run totally different. We're a nonprofit. Joy's House, Caring Place, there's other nonprofits out there. Nonprofits really focus on, giving, it's a whole different dynamic. So understand what a for-profit day center is and a nonprofit day center. And like Cheryl said too, understand where your loved one's needs are. Are they a level 1? So is that if you're a level 1 day center, once again, like she said, I think the biggest thing with level 1s is medication. My father, he needed help with meds, and his meds were so simple, but he couldn't, level 1, they literally have to take the pill out of the bottle, and they have to take the pill themselves. My father needed a pill handed to him and being, observed to be watched. That's a level 2. So making sure where, your level is for your loved one. So, make sure that those are the key factors, I would say, with knowing what a day center, which day center you want to go to.
And then also, I like to talk to the guests before they come too, because I'll ask them, and some can answer, some cannot, but I'll say, what kind of things do you like to do? What do you do at home? Because then I can say, well, we always have a puzzle going, always, right? If you don't like the activity that you're doing, you can work on that, or you can go paint, whatever they want to do. But as the caregiver, you should ask those questions too. What kind of activities do you do? That always sparks some conversation, I think.
And also I firmly believe, look on social media. Most day centers post their stuff on social media, what they're doing throughout the day. So get on social media, see what that day center's doing. And it also is a selling point for your loved one, who might be a little bit reluctant to go. Show them the photos that they're doing at the day center to engage them and say, oh, look, Dad, look what they're doing. This sounds really fun. You do, Dad, you like doing woodworking. Look, it looks like they're doing some woodworking today. So it engages them in conversation to want them to the buy-in of a day center also.
And just like when they come home, it's just like your kids. What did you do at school today? Nothing. And people might hear that, but when you go to the Facebook page or wherever their social media platform they're using, you'll see this is the stuff they're doing. And then you can remind them, oh, I saw you painted today. Well, yeah, maybe we did. Right. And I think it's also another good question is too, what kind of support do you offer the caregiver? So I know like here at Steerwaters, we have 2 caregiver groups a month, the second and fourth Wednesday. So caregivers can come in and we can just talk about like what's actually going on in our lives. And, because you can feel so isolated yourself and think, I'm the only person in the world that's having to deal with this, and you're not. And so it's so comforting to hear other people. And then we also do another one for folks, a grief support group every other month. So we have not only people come here, but people in the community will come in, they've lost their loved one and they're really having a hard time getting over that grief. So we sit and we talk about that grief and, coping mechanisms and how can we handle that? And you're hearing someone else lost theirs and it's the same story. So you're not alone, although it seems like you are. Yeah.
I know this is kind of off topic, but I don't think it's all the way off topic. It's one of the things that I remember having a conversation with Rebecca Geyer. She's a local elder law attorney in Carmel, and she was talking about things she has seen where families will try to save money, and they'll have a caregiver within the family move in with mom or dad or what have you and care for them, and they pay them a little bit under the table, just a little spending money or what have you. And so sometimes these things can go on for a very long period of time. And then that family member ends up where they don't have a house when they pass, when they cared for goes away. So they don't really have a claim to the house. They don't even qualify for Social Security because they haven't been taking wages with Social Security coming out of it. And they can really get themselves in a mess. With what you provide, they can have their job, they can have a career, they can do things legally, have a life outside of that home, and then come home, with a family member that you've worn out running through all their activities through the day, so that they can continue to age and care for that person at home and still maintain their life and their financial security.
And I don't know if Cheryl touched on this subject either about financials. A day center typically, if you go Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., you're paying an average about $2,100 for the month. Anyone who knows what skilled nursing is, you're paying between $5,000 to $10,000 a month. Or if you're doing home agency care, you're paying $35 an hour. So
or
more. So once again, a day center is so economically feasible if you're looking to keep your loved one at home and still work or have your time that you need. Once again, like I use my example with my dad. I mean, I worked full time. I try to do, everyone's different. I try to do home care with my dad initially because I didn't know day centers existed. I try to do home care, and home care is like, if the person doesn't show up that day or if the person's late, I'm late for work because it's one person that I'm dependent upon.
Right.
A day center, the nice thing is you have between, 4 to 8 staff on the floor. So no matter what, a day center is always going to be open on the times designated. So if you're a working person, no matter what, even if one person is sick, or even 2 people are sick, you still have the opportunity to take your loved one to that day center. And so that's where my success was with a day center. I knew that I could still work full time. I still did not have to give up my work, or, days that I had the day off, I still took my dad to the day center and I enjoyed my day with my daughter. Yes.
If you could tell me where you can find skilled living for $3,500 a month, I'd love to know where that is. But anyway, so because I will tell
That's
you.
probably after Medicaid pays
Yeah.
out, right?
Okay, well, I was just going to say my mom is self-pay and an assisted living, and it's 6 figures plus a year. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's a lot of money. And what we're finding, more and more individuals, are going to a skilled nursing, but they're not getting the same level of services and program that they get at a day center. So they're like, oh my gosh, I wish, yes, she's getting the one-on-one, but she's not getting that program side to keep her engaged, to keep her that two-way communication, two-way conversation. So it's a tough one.
Well, I will tell you, it's hard to believe, but our hour's about up. So what I'm going to suggest, why don't you tell us a little bit about how they get a hold of you, what that you would recommend for them to come take a peek around or what have you.
Sure, I'd love that. So they can call me at 317-284-0837. Set up a tour with me. I'd like to schedule it so that I make sure that I'm here because like most other workers, I'm out and about in the community trying to network, and that's how I met you, Jim, and
Yeah.
and make those other connections, because I think the healthcare, what we do, we all work together. But I'm happy to set a tour up. Let's come and check the place out. I can answer any questions, but I would love to have you come see it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today. Diane,
Thank
where you
you.
went, thank you as well. So yeah, I look forward to that. So,
Just ran out, so she
okay.
left.
All right. We'll see you guys. Take care.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.